Okay, so auditors love asking for policies, procedures, and all the other silly things that they think is risk management, but in fact is just risk management one. So for us, risk management one equals sign astrology, horoscopes. Not real, but you might as well have it. And so they usually ask for a few things. Number one, they usually ask for a policy. And nothing could be simpler than creating a risk management policy. And this is again, like just listen very carefully to what I'm trying to convey, because this is risk management one. So none of this is real. None of this has any impact on practical decision making within the organization. It's just a window dressing. It's a facade. And your objective is to create the facade as pretty as possible and as quickly as possible. Only two objectives. And of course, you have to tick all the boxes. So like if there is a specific flavor of the facade that somebody in your country expects, you want to make sure that flavor is addressed. But it's all a facade. It's not real. So risk management policy, literally the simplest document on the planet, because I don't know if you've thought about that, but this is how I've always done, and I've passed every single risk management audit on the planet that was kind of thrown at me. And obviously, I have been audited by every big four you can imagine, and about a dozen other gurus of risk management. And so, risk management policy is very simple. Open ISO 31000, copy paste words from ISO 31000 into your policy, as long as it's about one page and it covers the principles, because ISO 31000 has the principles and has a lot of really nicely concise, beautiful words, and that's all you need. The good news is, because COSO kind of says exactly the same, like there's no fundamental methodological difference between COSO and ISO. By copy pasting from ISO, you can easily claim that it aligns 100% with COSO ERM as well. So risk management policy, first piece of paper, single page preferably. If you somehow fit it on 2 pages, that's also fine, but don't be stupid. Don't create like a 5-page or 10-page document. I've seen a lot of companies do that, and that's just absolute insanity. Again, remember, this policy is not real. It's not actually used for anything. By the way, we did have a policy. We obviously never used it for anything, because I'll explain how risk management is actually done in practice in the following kind of chapter of my presentation. So risk management policy, very simple. Copy paste the principles, copy paste some other beautiful words about risk being an integral part of decision making, blah blah blah, and that's it. Done. Tick the box. Let me just quickly respond to the question or comment from Alina. Yeah, thanks. I agree. Abilities is I'm not sure what you mean by abilities, because it could be like they don't have time or they don't have the resources. I think it's a little bit more dramatic than that. I think they don't have the competencies, which is what makes me very sad, because they want to talk about risk all the time, and because risk management one has been sold by big four consultants for such a long time, every auditor on the planet, like I can guarantee every auditor on the planet thinks they can do, like, risk management is easy and they can do it, because to them risk management is having a conversation, an interview, and then putting some qualitative risk statements into a risk register form, and then having a workshop to rank them like likelihood and consequence. Well, obviously none of this has anything to do with risk management. So yeah, thanks, we're on the same page. Okay, Mohammed is asking a very good question. So what is the content of a risk management policy? Okay, let me, again, repeat this very slowly. Open ISO 31000. It has a section called principles. Paraphrase the principles. That's it. And put a little introduction and maybe some sort of summary at the end. That is it. That is your risk management policy. Paraphrase the principles from ISO 31000, done. And have like a nice introduction that all the policies have. So that's document number one. Tick the box. Document number 2. Some organizations are asking for a risk management framework document. Again, aligned with ISO and COSO. Framework is supposedly like the same as policy, but slightly more detailed with the methodology. I actually never had one. So I deleted and canceled these such framework documents every time I would join a new organization, because, as I would explain in the next chapter, it actually is absolute insanity to have a single framework methodology document, because you have different methodologies for market risk and credit risk, and even within operational risk, you have different methodologies for environmental safety, um, production. In procurement, you have different types of risk. Like, every organization has like 5 or 10 different risk managements. In investment process, you have a different risk management. In business planning, you have a different kind of risk management. The math behind all of these risk managements is kind of the same, but that you have like 5 or 10 different risk managements, and trying to artificially consolidate it into a single document is really a waste of time. If anything, we did once have like a governance model, basically like a high level overview of what risk management philosophy within the organization is, with like snippets from market risk methodology, credit risk methodology, operational risk methodology, liquidity risk methodology. But the only reason why we've done it, like, it wasn't a static document that needs to be approved. The only reason we've done that kind of model overview was to present to the audit committee and to the board and to the shareholders, explaining kind of the direction that risk management is going to take. So my advice, even for risk management one, to not have a risk management framework document at all, ever. But again, if you're not really into rocking the boat too much, and if you don't want to have those conversations, and you will have to have those conversations all the time with the auditors, because they will come like every year, they will go, well, where's your framework document? And every year you have to explain that it's a stupid question and you shouldn't be asking that. And in fact, there are 5 other documents that are more relevant than a single artificial risk management framework document. But if if you don't want to have that conversation, just create one. And again, by copy pasting words from ISO and COSO, you should have more than sufficient information to create this artificial document. Again, remember, none of this is real. Whatever you put in it has zero impact on the actual risk management that you do within the company. So it literally doesn't matter what you put in the framework document, as long as you can claim that it aligns with ISO and COSO. So, because that's literally the only thing that external stakeholders care about when they review your risk management. And then the final point, and this is actually very important. In some countries, for example, in Germany, you're expected to quantify overall risk exposure and represent it as a risk profile, like a loss exceedance curve or a histogram, some sort of quantitative measure of risk. In some of the other European countries, the Ministry of Finance expects you to have a tax risk register. In some of the other countries, the Ministry of Environment expects you to have environmental risk registers. And then now there is kind of this drive for an ESG risk register. All of these things are completely stupid and have zero practical value. But if you are expected by a regulator, especially if it's a law, to have something as part of risk management one, you must do it. Like, there's no, even though, again, I am crazy. So I have had conversations with Ministry of Economics and Ministry of Finance and Central Bank saying, do not issue that regulation, that legislation, because it's stupid that you're asking for a risk register of something or other. And we've even blocked 1, maybe 2 legislations on that. But then we weren't able to convince them on about 5 other legislations and they didn't ask us on 5 more that they've just issued. So sometimes it's just there's no point arguing with ministries, and they obviously have no clue about risk management. So it's just easier to do whatever they ask. Unfortunately, it's all risk management one, and you can't kind of, doing a risk register for ESG, you can't really reuse it for actual decision making within the organization. So it's a bit of a waste of effort, but it's part of those kind of, it's part of playing the corporate game. You just have to, close your eyes, pretend that it's real, and just do it. And thanks, Sammy. I completely agree. It's one of these things. Um, I I have been lucky enough to have management that was actually, I don't know, I don't want to use the word clever, but the management that was kind of pragmatic and real enough to very quickly realize that all of this is complete window dressing and had nothing to do with how they actually make decisions. And so they actually did not like seeing any risk registers because they knew it was a waste of time, and it was insulting to them to waste their time on reviewing different risk registers. And so management kind of sleeps better not seeing all this artificial risk management one, but the board and the audit committee and some of the external stakeholders, they certainly sleep much better. Okay, so Susan is asking, if this is the case, how do you collect the risk information? Well, stay tuned, because in the next chapter we will start discovering how we actually do risk management, because none of this is risk management. This is just window dressing, risk management one, fairy tale stuff. This is not real.